All right, hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our February webinar, and everyone on a short week. Again, appreciate your time today. For those of you out in BC, I hope you enjoyed your short week last week. Today, we're going to cover a few topics. I'm excited about this webinar because we actually had our users and everyone on our LinkedIn and all our social media channels actually vote for our topics this month, which I think is a great idea. So hopefully you guys got your vote in and are getting to see what you'd like. Again, for those checking out the system for the first time, this might be a little bit more of an advanced webinar. We're going to cover a few things. So one, we're going to cover the policy review. Again, so important doing a policy review. Again, it really shows your clients, here is what you have, and here are your options. And so many times just giving information is a great way to open the door to new opportunity and, again, increase that communication and client service. So again, if you are checking out the account for the first time, remember anyone can sign up free with a 30-day free trial. And all of the things that you're seeing today are actually from the Elite package. After the policy review, I'm going to kind of transition into what if we don't have those term renewals when we're doing a policy or when reviewing it. What can we do to estimate those renewals and just do a conceptual compare when we don't actually have them? And again, this comes up a lot of times if you've acquired a block of business or you're reviewing an opportunity that maybe is someone else's policy holder. Or an agent who's left the business, you need to guess those renewals and perform that review, but you don't have the contract. So I'll show you how to do that, how you can estimate them. The next topic that was voted upon was critical illness and showing ROPD and C, so return of premium on death or cancellation, how we can illustrate that in Life Design. So I'll do a little bit of a CI case for everyone. The next one that we're going to do is a cost of waiting. So just really showing the impact of procrastination. It's really tied to the client's age. I don't think a lot of people realize the insurance age and how much of an impact it can have waiting. And finally, we're going to finish off with a whole life versus whole life, how to use those cash value overlays and insurance benefit overlays really effectively to really compare what could be either two different whole life products, it could be different levels of funding, it could even be different dividends. So I might focus on two different companies today, but again, it can be used in a lot of different options. So again, if you are new to the system, thanks so much for joining. Please sign up free if you see what you like. For those of you who are current users just looking to brush up on your skills, again, also thank you for joining. We'll get started on the first concept. So I'm going to log into my account here. And the first concept, again, like I mentioned, we're going to do a policy review. And I'm going to start this as if we've never kind of created a case before. This is our first client that we want to review and really just perform that policy review. And within the system, I'm going to start by saying, okay, I would like to create a new case. And again, if I had created this client before, I could just start typing their name and select them from a list. Now, we're going to pretend this is a brand new client, and I'm absolutely new to the system, so I'm going to create them in the system. And so I'm just going to call mine Andy. I'll just call him Conron. And I've actually pulled an existing policyholder who was born in '78 because I wanted to do an actual review on a policyholder. Now again, I'm going to change all the names, but he was born in January 1978, and he is a male non-smoker. Again, I can enter any additional information. I'm just going to continue with as is, and now I've got Andy Conron in the system. Again, I can create as many different cases on him as I want. You can see he's a 38-year-old male non-smoker. Now, I've also gone ahead and actually pulled the policy so you can see where my starting point is. A review of a policy is, again, a great opportunity to show your client what they have versus something you think might be more appropriate. You may just want to show them their term conversion options, or depending on the issue date, you may want to show them their exchange options. But the process of getting their existing policy and showing what they have is always the same. So what I pulled here, and I've just done a scan, and hopefully everyone can see this okay. I'm going to pull it up here. This is a scan of the statement for our existing policy holder. So I blanked out all the names here, but as you can see, this is a Simply Preferred Canada Life Term 10. Now our client here, again, he was born 1978, so he was actually 34 when he bought this. It's for $2 million as well. And again, you can see his rate class is preferred. And I just want to point that out in advance, because when we go and do our kind of our second concept and try and guess these renewals, assuming we don't have the contract, we're going to need that rate class, or we're going to have to guess it. So again, these are all the policy details. Again, if you have the policy, it's best to use these when doing a review, because again, then we're going to have the exact contract details of here is his policy premium, and here is the full renewal schedule. Again, you can see the one other thing I'm going to note is that the premium payable has been reduced by the policy fee. So if we really want to do it perfectly accurate, we would add in the policy fee as well. And again, with our rates, when we search them in the system, they include a policy fee. So I just want to kind of point that out for when we do get to the estimating one. But as you can see, this has really all the information we need about this, including when the policy was issued. We've got when the first expiration is, and all the kind of the details. So we want to enter this in, our existing policyholder, into LDA to renew it. So I'm just going to pull this aside for now. That's basically the policyholder we're working with. So again, we've put him in the system now. Now our client is age 38. We entered his birth date and created that client. Again, we can pick the insurance benefit, and this one might be a little high, but I picked it just because I had an existing policy in place, so I wanted to use actual numbers here. So I'll put in that $2 million face value. But again, yours can vary, and again, it's all going by those guaranteed renewals. So the first step, I want to add his existing policy. Now, anything new in the system, again, you can search the market through those LifeGuide rates. And again, if you have LifeGuide, you get that 50% discount. But we're doing something a little bit outside the system, something that the system maybe wouldn't know, and that's an existing policy. So what I want to select here is just this plus manual. And again, you can see there's lots of different options depending on what your term length is. Again, if you were reviewing a term 20, of course you'd select term 20. The policy I handpicked here was actually a term 10. So I'm going to select term 10 from the list there, and it launches into a form. And you can see it has the title here saying term 10. And again, it gives us a little note saying this is what actually appears in the legend. Now, term 10 is fine, but it's not really explicit to our customer, the end user who we're really trying to communicate better with. So what I want to do is I actually want to say this is your existing Canada Life term 10. And again, everywhere in the report, this is going to show up saying existing Canada Life term 10. And that's really going to resonate with our client because they're going to understand and put themselves in the position every time they read this. Again, we could add an additional description in there if we wanted. I'm just going to leave it as is. But what I do want to put in is that initial premium. And again, just kind of going back to that policy that I actually scanned, this is the premium schedule we're going to find just down here. So you can see it starts off 1,000, then goes 5,140, then renews to 12,460, and so forth. So basically, that's what I'm going to enter in here. So again, initial premium was 1,000, and if we had the policy fee, we could put that in there as well. We really should to give a truly accurate one. But again, I don't have the policy fee here, so I'm just going to do the best I can and just err on the low side. So then it goes to 5,140. The next renewal comes in, and it goes to 12,450. Next renewal comes in, goes to 33,780. And again, depending on your age of your client, I've picked a very young client, so they're going to have a lot more renewals. As you'll notice, it keeps allowing me to enter one more until I'm finished. And basically, this policy ends at 208,720 if you could get there. Again, it's always going to give me the opportunity for the next renewal. I'm just entering the ones in that contract. I also want to tell it that this is renewable till age 85, and it's convertible till age 75. So again, I've got my guaranteed premium schedule in there. Again, this could be done as a reissue as well, a whole other concept that you can check out on our YouTube channel. One important factor, though, is that I want to tell our system, Life Design, that this policy is in force. And as soon as I give it an issue date, and again, this one was back in 2012, and it was actually January 12th. And I can also give it a policy number. I'll give it a conceptual one because I don't want to expose the real policy number here. But again, as soon as you give this an issue date, our system recognizes, okay, this is an existing policy, and we're this many years into it. Again, no matter when you revisit this, it's always going to know the issue date. It's always going to know today's date. So this is something, once you enter it once, you can always revisit later. But essentially, we take all that information from the existing policy, and we hit save. And that's really as simple as getting an existing policy in our system is. So now I've got his existing term. If I ever want to review what I've actually input there, all I have to do is actually click the legend. And again, we're going to see those policy details. I'm just going to kind of drag this over so we can see those yearly premiums match exactly what we've entered here. And again, because we've given it the issue date, our system's going to recognize that it's in force. So I don't need that anymore. I've got my existing policy in there just by selecting plus manual and entering it. Again, if it was a term 20, select the appropriate length. Now what I want to do is I want to say, okay, Andy, you've got this existing policy, but I want to show you your term conversion options. Or, if you were doing an exchange, you could do that as well. It's completely up to you what you'd like to show. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use those conversion options and say, I'd like to show you a minimum funded UL. So I'm going to say search universal life, and I want to search at his current age. So he's 38 right now. I'm just going to select a minimum funded. Of course, you'll be able to pick whatever options you'd like to show, and I'm going to search the market. Again, I might not have wanted to search the whole market here. I might want to refine it just to Canada Life, so because that's his term conversion option, and I just want to sign a form and make the sale. And again, I want to show him how a permanent solution might work out better for him in the long term. So I'm going to add that Canada Life UL to the case. And I also want to show him a whole life option because I want him to know that, there are other options besides, just your straight term. I want to show him something with a little bit of cash value. So I'm also going to add a Canada Life whole life here. Now again, for those of you familiar with the system, you know that when you do a whole life, we want to put that spreadsheet data in there so we can show all the different dividend options of our choice. We can show term riders, ADO, anything we want to design. So again, this doesn't have to be a full conversion. We could also show or illustrate what a partial conversion is going to be. So I'm just going to launch Concourse here. And as you can see, I've got it already set up for my 38-year-old client. I've designed a coverage for $2 million here. And I'm doing a 15-year payment. I've chosen paid up additions as my dividend option as well, and annual. But again, whatever you'd like to design in here, you certainly can. So again, if you wanted to do a million of base plus $1 million term rider, go for it. It's definitely a possibility. What I am going to do though is I want to take the information from my quote here and I want to bring it into our software. So I'm going to say view data, and I've got my design of my quote here. I want to export it to Excel. Once I do this, I have all my data on the quote. So once it sends it to Excel, it's whatever I've designed, including things like I mentioned, like term ride or ADO. Anything like that is possible to illustrate. I want to select all the data though. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I find the easiest way is the copy and paste way. So that's the way I'm going to show first. Later on in the webinar, I'll also show how you can do it with a CSV. But essentially, once you've exported your quote to Excel here, there's a little button top left here. If I just hover my mouse over here, it's kind of a blank square in the top left. And if you click it, it actually selects all data. Now again, there's a couple ways to do that. If you're more comfortable hitting Control-A, you can do that as well to select everything, or even manually highlight. But the idea is you want to grab everything in that spreadsheet because it has all that data about our quote. What we want to do now is we want to copy that information and come back to Life Design Analysis where we can click that paste spreadsheet data. So again, we want to give this quote the information exactly like we've designed it, and we're going to do that from that spreadsheet we just sent to Excel. So I'm going to paste it in there. Again, anyone who's familiar with their system knows it comes all jumbled, but it's okay. Our system knows how to read that. It's expecting it in this format. Again, I click upload. And again, if you're a new user to the system, don't worry about this. We have lots of videos and guides on how to do this. Once you do it a couple times, really easy process. Again, I've got it entered here as Canada Life Whole Life, but just like I changed the title here to really communicate with my client that it was an existing policy, I might want to do the same with the title here and say, let's give it a little bit of extra detail. I don't want to just call it Canada Life Whole Life. I want to give it a really descriptive name. So this is actually a wealth achiever. And under my description, I can say this is a 15-year plan premium and that it's a participating whole life. I might want to add extra details that has them ask me certain questions, like what is participating whole life? So these might be little breadcrumbs you leave behind for conversation starters or little extra descriptive tips. The idea is that you want to give them as much information as you can because it's going to make their decision that much easier. So I'll just save, and that's going to update the title. And again, now Wealth Achiever is going to show up everywhere in the actual legend itself. So I've got my products in there. Again, I've entered my existing term, and I've entered 2 different term conversion options. I mean, you might just do one if you're focusing on if you think the par is right for them, or maybe you don't think that's in their realm of affordability. Again, you could do just a straight UL or even an exchange. This works with whatever options you want to set up and show them to. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to push this time frame to age 99, and I'm also going to say I don't want my insurance benefit offset. I don't want to show the IRR on insurance benefit at age 43. I don't think it's applicable. I want to delay it for about 40 years. And that'll make him around age 80. So it'll actually be 78 when it shows the IRR of insurance benefit, and that's what that little offset is. I can also go down and kind of control different things that I want here. So when doing a policy review, you know, I might make an internal note for myself about why I'm showing my client this note or something like that, but I might put in a report note, and I might say any of the other options are convertible with no med. So again, I just want my client to know any additional details about this. It could be a personal recommendation. It's really anything that helps them get more information about the case. And I can also select my report components. So in this case, because I'm doing a PAR plan, I don't really want the cost per thousand in there. And again, I've also got an alternative investment, but because that's more of an objection metric, I'm just going to kind of simplify my presentation a little bit more and just kind of take out a few things and leave in really what I think is critical. So I've customized my report components. I've added a nice custom note that shows them that you can sign a form and basically switch to either of these two products. And again, I've loaded in the products that I want. So now all that's left is to click Generate Report, and I've got my full policy review done. Now again, this is something I can revisit in years to come because I'm still always going to have this existing term. I'll just have to switch out and update the new options as far as new prices for product goes. So again, I've generated my report, and it's got this great kind of summary of all the different premiums. Now again, if I was doing this interactively, I'm set here. But again, for anyone new to the system, you can also generate a PDF of these reports. And again, as anyone is going to see, because we entered that policy with the issue date, our system knows that there's only 6 years left until this policy jumps from its $1,000 to $5,140. And again, they see that full renewal all the way until that very last one, until the policy actually expires at age 85. And again, when we generate the PDF, he's going to see the note that he can switch to either of these two plans with no medical evidence. Again, really nice on that convenience factor, but ultimately we want to show him that permanent insurance may be a better cost for him. And again, if you're the type that wants to illustrate, even under a term rewrite, again, because our client's young and presumably healthy, we could illustrate a few rewrites in there too, as if they purchased term again. Those kind of options are totally up to you, and again, maybe best for another webinar, so when we have a little bit more time. Or again, feel free to check out our YouTube channel for concepts like that. But again, in our report here, we're reviewing their existing product and their guaranteed renewal schedule versus their two-term conversion options. Again, the first chart we want to show is just the annual premium, and again, it does a really great job of putting in perspective. Yes, that whole life is quite expensive compared to what you're currently paying with the term. However, because of those renewals, again, you can see where your existing policy is going all the way until it expires. Again, nice things in the legend like renewable to age and convertible to age really help describe in visuals what's actually happening. And again, we'll kind of cue your consumer to ask questions about their policy. Like, what do you mean convert? Oh, here's the age I have to do this kind of conversion that you're suggesting. So again, great way to kind of show details about the policy and give an idea of cost. Now again, of course, everyone wonders, well, I'm saving all this money here based on what you're suggesting. How does that all add up over time? Well, again, the next one, of course, is that sum of premiums. And again, consumers really respond well to seeing that, okay, yes, it's initially more expensive up front, but again, I'm going to actually break even here. And again, well before life expectancy in this case. And again, here's a break even of our two other term conversion options. So again, even if you wanted to, you could even click on the legend here and refine maybe our more permanent ones. So if the client immediately sees that, oh yeah, I get what you're saying about that term and how it expires and how it renews at a higher price later, when I don't want to be paying more, again, we can immediately refine down and focus on the other two options simply by clicking a legend and really contrasting them. So again, everything in this web-based part of it is interactive and can really help us refine and do that policy review, hone down on their different options. Again, we want to show them the value of why you put in all this extra money up front for the whole life, and that's our next slide. We want to show that total cash value. So this is what you paid here in red is your premium, all premium deposits. It's actually a sum of them, so the cost adds up every year, and how it relates to that cash value. Again, this is a very powerful visual for you because you could show your client the actual value, not just how much it costs up front. You can say, look, here's how much you get for that. And again, this is a total cash value, not the guaranteed. However, if you do get that objection, people asking if it is guaranteed, again, you can interactively take them through and show them of that total cash value, here's how much is guaranteed. Again, we can see over half of it actually is guaranteed. Again, very powerful, especially as it relates to the premium we've paid. Again, we can see that quite a bit of that premium is guaranteed to be covered under that cash value, the guaranteed cash value. And again, we can contrast that and see that, it is actually quite reasonable when we consider the value, not just the cost. So again, great visual to help them understand. Again, showing how that paid up addition works here. Again, in a picture as opposed to describing it. It's a paid up addition. Doesn't mean a lot to regular people, but visuals are very easily processed and remembered. We immediately see the cost versus the benefit. It shows a significant value. So again, it's really important for consumers to kind of see and interact with these policies. And again, visuals are remembered more than text and numbers as well. So if you want to leave a lasting impression and have them remember, they're going to remember that value that they see within the presentation you're giving them. Again, we can see our sum of premiums going year over year, all the way down until this policy actually expires, and we're going to see the cost difference for that. So again, we see that the whole life actually on a 15-year offset actually is the most affordable long term. Now again, it takes till about kind of the mid 80s here. Again, we can see kind of the crossover is right around age 80. So again, a great place even on cost to kind of do the comparison. But again, we've got all that cash value here in the one plan, and that's what we really want to highlight. And again, to break out this table, I'm just hitting this little plus and minus sign. You can do that to see in between the 5 years. Now, I've also paired this with an IRR of cash value. Of course, only the one policy I added has cash. So that's the only one that's going to show up. If you were doing it to some other options like an overfunded UL, again, you might have multiple cash value products in here, and you could contrast them as well. But again, the real one that I want to show is this IRR of insurance benefit. If it goes to my client CA, I want to be able to prove that even in a time value of money kind of situation, that I'm recommending a product that has a strong IRR. And again, I think the comparison does a great job at visually showing that. If you didn't like, for instance, the table here, you could always go back to the report and customize it with maybe a chart, or sorry, a table of these values. And again, it would give you a year over year breakdown of the IRR. And again, extremely valuable for CAs. Normally they do this kind of work manually, but you're kind of taking away their homework for them and really presenting a case that really makes sense for your client. So again, that's a great way to do a policy review. Again, if this is what I decided I wanted to show my client, all I have to do is come up at the top here and generate a PDF. And again, all that kind of great policy information that we put in about our client here from the previous form is going to be in that policy summary. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. So it's just going to download to my downloads folder, and I'll just launch it up here. So again, you can see properly dated, links back to our website. Your logo goes here, again, your company name here, and prepared for your client. Now again, in our mission statement, of course, you would customize this for your brand and put kind of a mission statement that fits with your brand and your philosophies. It could be even an explanation of product, like permanent term, that kind of thing, like a glossary of terms. You can see that my note that any of these options are convertible with no meds. And again, you might make this a little bit more of a detailed note in there so it stands out a little bit more. But again, all that policy information that we're thinking about in this review is all here. So again, they see that they have their existing Canada Life Term 10. Again, it's colored red to show them that it is going to expire sooner than the other plans. And again, all that information that they need, such as the issue date, the policy number, when it renews to, when it converts to, and if we had added any extra detail. So if, for instance, we thought they wouldn't kind of understand any of these conditions, we could kind of add a little descriptive note. Again, we also have our minimum funded UL that they can switch to, just a basic level premium for life. And we've also added our 15-year plan premium Wealth Achiever. And again, this can be any combination for whatever product you've added and whatever you feel is in your client's best interest. But again, they're going to have all this information condensed in one nice, clean, easy to understand page, rather than maybe 30 pages of illustrations with just pure numbers that won't make an impact on them, and they won't really get a sense of the cost and the value. And that's really what we want to show. We're not necessarily biased towards anything. We just want to show here are some options. And they're naturally going to upsell themselves when they see that savings long term, the fact that their policy remains in force, and that there is value for it. So again, that's how I would do a policy renewal. Now, a lot of you might say, though, that's fantastic, and it's great when you have all those kind of renewal dates. what if we don't have this existing schedule here? Well, what I'd like to go is transition into our next topic on how do we estimate renewals when we don't have them. And I think what I'd like to do on this one, again, is I'm going to stack and I'm going to hide our UL and I'm going to hide our Wealth Achiever for later when we do a kind of a multiple whole life case. But what I want to show is how do we estimate the term renewals here if we don't actually have the guaranteed schedule that I was showing before. So one great way that I always use, and again, this is not foolproof because pricing does change over time, but if you need something in a pinch to conceptually show, here's roughly what happens to a term policy over time, we can definitely guess these renewals. And I'll show you how close we can get. So again, knowing that I have entered these from the existing contract, what I want to do is actually, I want to guess them. So again, if I pull up here, I'm just going to get rid of some of this here just to show that original contract again. So if I see that when he bought this, he was age 34, and here's that renewal schedule, what I'd like to do is go into our system here, and again, I've got the existing one just as a basis of comparison. What I'm actually going to do, though, is I'm going to backdate our client and make him 34. If I'm using the client age override, and again, if you've never used this before, our calendar uses the insurance age or the age nearest. If you'd like to backdate someone or even really far backdate them, like in this case, we're backdating them to 2012 when they bought the policy, great way to do it. So again, I'm putting in age 34. This is his age when he got the policy issued. And again, another thing I kind of pointed out at the beginning is that he was a rate class preferred. And so I'm going to try and match that as well. So again, we may know that, we may not, but again, it's going to give us a good idea as far as why I'm searching that for price. So again, he was 34 when he bought it. I'm going to search the term market with today's pricing. So again, I'm doing 34, 10-year term. I'm going to go annually, but again, I know this is Canada Life, and your client probably usually knows the company as well as the premium. So I'm going to select Canada Life. And again, the other thing I'm going to do is under my risk class, I'm going to say preferred because I also know that. So again, any information that you have can really help. I'm going to search the market and see what, by today's rates, what a Canada Life Simply Preferred Term 10 costs. And you can see here, it's actually, we've got $1,020. And then again, this is the Platinum Preferred, which is actually what our client got. If we look at kind of that, you see Platinum Preferred. So again, that's the premium I want. Again, the other thing I note here is that this premium does not have the policy fee in it. And what I'm probably going to guess is that the policy fee is probably about $20 because our rates that are searched through LifeGuide actually include that policy fee. So I'll add it to the case. And again, we're going to now compare and say, get rid of this age override. Let's see how close we were. So again, we know this existing one here was the actual contract, and here's the renewal rates we got. So 1,020, 5,160, again, 1,000, 5,100. Again, we're off by about $20. Again, that's probably the policy fee all the way through. 12,480. Ours goes to 12,450. So again, we're very close. I mean, we're talking about $30 per year. So if you don't have the renewals, that's a fantastic way to guess them. Again, these are very close, within $20, $30. But again, they're conceptually going to give this client the idea of what happens to that term policy over time. Again, it's almost identical. So what I want to do is, now that I've added it, I also want to do the same thing I did here and tell our system that, you know what, this actually has an issue date. So I'm going to edit the plan. And I'm just going to say, let's take off a couple years because we're saying this has an issue date of 2012. Again, I'll just say February 1st. The other thing I really want to do, and again, this is just more from compliance and covering yourself, is under the description, I just want to say that this is just an estimated, or this is conceptual. So I'm just going to say estimated renewal schedule, or you could say not your existing contract. Please refer to your actual contract. It's just for conceptual, just so you can see the idea. But again, I think you'll see how close they are at when we kind of research and backdate and kind of reverse engineer these two quotes here. And again, we can just quickly generate this report here and just really see how close those are over time. So again, if you don't have those actual contract details, you can see conceptually a great way to show your client. Again, these match pretty dead on, so we're very close here. Again, when we look at the one over the other, that's a great way, if you don't actually have those details, to show them. So again, even if you don't have the contract, you can still review a client's policy. And again, that comes up a lot of the times if you've got, maybe you've purchased a block of business, or someone else, their advisors left the business, they come to you to review their policy, but it takes a long time to get that, especially if you're not the agent of record. Here's a great way to conceptualize it and show those estimated renewals. So again, that concept is also already on our YouTube channel if you do want to go take a look at it. So again, great way to estimate it. So I'm going to go back to the main dashboard here, and I'm going to kind of move right along into our next concept, just because I do want to keep kind of our 45-minute timeline. And again, if anyone, if you feel that it is moving a little too fast, most of these concepts are on that YouTube channel. But of course, get in touch. We're happy to help on any given case and work to your specific scenario. So I'm going to go into a managed case here, and I've actually set a CI policy as my favorite case here. So I've got a critical illness policy here with ROPD, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to view this. And I've just set up here just basically a Cumis Life T10 versus showing a critical illness with ROPS and ROPD. So again, the system automatically can search for critical illness rates. Again, thanks to that Life Guide Association. And if you do have Life Guide, again, I mentioned that 50% discount. Always happy if you're a new user considering the system. Please take advantage of it. Now, I want to show you in here how critical illness works with the graphs that we use for whole life. So again, if you really want to show the value of those riders, the return of premium on surrender or death, again, I'll show you what the report looks like, and then I'll show you how we can add it. So adding this term 10 is extremely easy. We just have to search the system for it, and it'll automatically add that. And again, it's going to chart it out here. Here's the cost of the critical illness with ROPD and S. Of course, it's more expensive. I also picked a level to 75 plan for this one and added the riders. So again, yes, it does start quite a bit more expensive, but it is level. So we don't see those renewals. And again, with CI, it can be so important because that medical underwriting is a lot more difficult with CI than perhaps maybe life insurance or other products. So again, we really want to give an overview of exactly how the premium structure goes, and again, show the cost. And in this one, again, we're not saving the client that much money. And again, even if you factored in time value money, you might say it is a little bit better to take those guaranteed renewals. However, what we do want to highlight in this case is that, because a lot of clients won't invest, they do turn out to be very close to the same premium. And again, the benefit with the level to 75 is that we're not getting those spikes. We're not, in 10 years, we're not paying more than we currently are now. We're going to have a manageable cost all the way through. And we're also going to have the benefit of, if we cancel, we want all our money back. And that's really what we want to highlight to the client in this scenario. So yes, it's great showing them that, both are going to be similar cost. One's going to be a lot more stable. And this one that actually is more stable also has another benefit, and that's the return of premium on surrender or death. And so what I've included here as far as my metrics was a total of cash and insurance. And so I can refine it down to ROP, S, and D. And I can show here as well the total insurance benefit. And here's the return of premium on death in blue here. So again, I can show them, look, in the event of death, you get all that premium back, no matter what year it is. But if you cancel, so here's the return of premium on cancellation, again, after that 15th year, I can see how much of that cash value I get back. So I know everyone knows that's probably capable in the system. Again, it's got a nice breakdown. You're probably all participating because you want to know how to enter it. So again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start this case from scratch. I'm going to delete this one plan. And I'm actually going to delete our other quote here, our ROPD and S. And we're going to start right from scratch. We've got no products added. How do we compare these two? So the first step is the easy one. So what I'm going to do, again, I've got my sample case, my male age 50. I want to search for CI rates. And I want to maybe search for this term 10 product. And again, I'm just searching, I'll just say all companies here. And click search. And it's very much like term. You set your term length. And again, it shows you your different options. So again, I can still pick anyone from the list here. So in my case, because I've drawn up one here, I might want to use, I might be set with a certain company. I might like their covered conditions. I might like their contract. Totally up to you. I'm going to pick Manulife Life Check here. So I'll add that to the case. Got their term 10 in there. And again, just like term, if you want to see those renewal schedules, simply click, and it's going to auto-populate them for you. Now, if you saw in that term search, there also is results for ROPD and S. So if you're just looking as far as price, that's fine. You can search it just like you would for a regular term. If you want to show that cash value and accurate rates, what I would recommend is going to the Plus manual. Now, within Plus Manual, again, we did an existing policy in here. You'll notice there's also a section for critical illness. And this is very much like our whole life and overfunded ULs. However, it's specifically designed for critical illness. And again, what I want to do is I want to give this a title that's really explicit to what I'm doing. So I'm just going to say this is critical illness. I'm going to say level to 75. And I'm going to say includes ROPD and S. And again, you can make this as client-friendly and descriptive as possible. I'm going to save that. That's going to update my title and really speak to these products that I'm adding. Now you can see, again, when we're doing it, kind of adding cash value and showing perfectly accurate numbers. If we want to get that in there, we've got to actually input that manually. And it's not really that much work. Again, it's looking for the annual premium, the return of premium on cancellation, and the return of premium on death. I've actually gone to Manulife here. I've done up a life check quote, and you can see I've got my client in here, male, age 50, 250,000. And just in the rider section, I just designed it to have, I've got return of premium on death and surrender. So again, you can customize these options, pick whichever ones fit what you're trying to illustrate for the client. Now what I want to do is I want to take the data from this quote and bring it into our system. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to hit this little spreadsheet looking yellow button here in Manulife. And every kind of software usually has a table view. And basically I want to copy these values over. So the first one I can start with is actually the total face of the policy. That's the insurance benefit. I'm just selecting all of them, and I'm hitting Control-C for copy. They don't actually let you copy all the time in here, but if you want to right-click, you can also send it to Excel. Come back to ours, and the first one I picked was the insurance benefit, so I'll paste that in there, right there. And as you can see, it just fills the values down. You can grab it right from the illustration software. Extremely easy to get in there. Flipping back to Manulife here, the next column I want is the return of premium on death. Or again, we can work with our table here and say, okay, here's our total premium or the policy cost. So again, I want to grab from year 1 here all the way to the end, which is year 75 in this case. And again, I'm just doing a Control-C to copy. If you want, you could export to Excel and right-click. And because this is the total policy cost, that's what I want for net annual premium. That's what we mean. That's the total policy cost. Again, year 1. Post that down. It's going to be level to 75. Now what I want is the return of premium on cancellation and death. And again, those are really important. That's where we want to show those kind of the value, really. Just like we do with whole life. It's not all about cost. It's also about what you get for it. So I'll start with cancellation, or sometimes called surrender, and grab this column here. Again, just making sure I'm going right from year 1 right to 75. Going to complete a copy. And again, this is surrender or cancellation, so I'm going to come back and paste it in the appropriate column. And you can see it's 0 till about the 15th year, which is pretty standard. And I've also added a ROPD on this one, so I want to reflect that in there as well. And you can see it's right here, return of premium on death. I'm just going to grab, again, from year 1 all the way down to year 25 and copy. And again, just like that. Now I've got it in there. I've got all my data. 25 years. I just want to make sure I hit upload at the very end. So there's one at the top and one at the bottom. Again, if you missed anything from there, it's not going to let you go through with it. It'll let you know. And again, if I ever want to check what I uploaded, I simply need to click on the box. If I need to make any corrections, I can repaste this data. So now it's up to picking metrics. The only thing I really wanted to point out here is that, I take away a lot of them for CI, and what I do use is a cash and insurance benefit. So I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with this metric. It may be defaulted out because it's not one we include typically, but basically it includes the premium, the cash, and the insurance benefit. And the reason I like it for CI is that when I generate the report, it doesn't simply focus on cash or insurance. It kind of brings them all into play. So again, now we're going to see our cost comparison, which is our term 10 here. Again, increasing cost. We're going to see a cost comparison. In this case, the term 10, because I picked Manulife instead of another company, is actually a little bit more affordable. And it still can be a great comparison in the system, even if the values, even if you are suggesting, yes, you're going to pay a little bit more. Again, this is that cash and insurance. So again, it's got all of them turned on in one graph. And again, I can manipulate this and say, look, I just want to look at the cancellation. If that's paramount to my customer saying, what if I get to age 74 and don't use it and I want to cancel it? Again, we can show them that everything you put back into that policy, essentially you get back. again, makes it a very nice safety net for them. Sometimes they'll say, well, what if I pass away? What happens to those premiums? Again, we can also show that return of premium on death. And again, very close to equal what we paid in premium. We get all that premium back if we pass away. So again, some people position this as, a very nice retirement savings plan. If if you get there and need $222,000 of money back, fantastic. It acted like just a savings account that you weren't thinking about. Again, when we look at our presentation summary, even if the costs are different, again, we see that return of premium. So even though we paid, if we look at age, we'll take it out all the way here. If we look here, we know even at age 74, we've paid more money. We're not saving the money in this case. We've actually caused them to pay $74,000 more. Now, we want to show them the value for that, though. And again, if they cancel the one policy, the term 10 here, they get zero cash value. They get nothing for it. However, if they cancel our one with our riders, they get $232,375. So again, even for the $80,000, there was some benefit. We get our money back if we pass away. We get our money back if we cancel after 15 years. And again, we show them the value of that savings account that they're not necessarily thinking of, just in case they don't use that. So again, great way to show critical illness there. So that's how I would enter it in the system. And again, you can do it either the automated rates if you're not showing cash value, but if you want to show these graphs, I'd use that manual CI. So I'm going to set up a brand new case here, and we're going to transition right into our cost of waiting. Again, I love this concept. I'm going to just choose my sample case. This is a 50-year-old male. Again, I can pick any insurance benefit. So I might want to pick that $2 million that I was working with before. Again, your insurance benefit is going to vary depending on your client. What I do want to do is I want to make, again, we've got this 50-year-old client here. I want to add, I'll use a universal life in this because it's very easy to add. And again, it really illustrates the concept well. Now, I like this one, again, if a client is maybe procrastinating. They know they need permanent insurance, but they're not really ready to take the plunge, or for some reason they're thinking about cost. We just want to show them how much that procrastination can cost them. So I'm searching at their current age, saying, here's the market. You can convert to any one of these products, or you can purchase this right now at this price. I'll add it to the case. I'll pick BMO, for instance. I've got it at their current age here. And again, use these edit plans to really customize that title. So again, we could say, forget what it is. We could just say, this is current age, and save that. And again, what I want to do is I want to use that age override. Now, our client may not know how insurance companies operate with the age nearest. And they may think, oh, my birthday's not for another 4 or 5 months. I've got tons of time before I'm actually 51. Little do they know they're actually considered 51 maybe in 1 or 2 months. So we want to show them the impact that might have on their premium if they wait. Again, they'd either have to backdate and pay all that premium at once. It can be very difficult to do. We'd rather convince them today to purchase rather than wait any second longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward date my client to age 51. I'm going to repeat that search. So I'm just going to search universal life rates here, but at an increased age. And again, I do want to add a disclaimer saying these are based on current rates, because again, UL could go up tomorrow, it could go down tomorrow. We don't necessarily know that. But we do know that age almost always is going to be a factor in cost. And again, I've added the second product here. What I want to do is I want to edit this and say, maybe this is 3 months from now. So again, these titles can be used not just, they don't have to be extremely product focused. They can be very descriptive or to kind of emphasize a point. And actually, on my disclaimer there, I really should say assumes current pricing. So I'm going to go back and edit it. Again, you can always do that and just add my assumes current pricing note in there. Again, that's going to be great because if rates change, I don't want our client thinking that this rate is guaranteed to them in the future. I might really want to simplify this one. I mean, I could show some charts and different things like that, but I'm going to really come down to my needs and just kind of take out all those. You know what? I really just want to show them that presentation summary at the end and maybe cost per thousand. So again, take out all the metrics I don't want and just leave what I want. Could be very simple, but I really want to show them here is the cost of waiting. And again, this can be this can be extrapolated. This I'm showing 1 year. You can see it goes up $2,000 in 1 year. They're going to have to pay that for the rest of their life, though. So by waiting 3 months, it's going to cost you $41,000 versus doing it today. And again, you could do this, current age versus 1 year. You could do this over a 5-year span if it's more of a 5-year plan. We also have a one where you can do kind of a delayed term conversion. But again, just saying to someone it's going to be, if you wait 3 months, it's going to be $1,300 more, may not always sound like a lot of money. It may not motivate someone who's going, well, I'm paying $25,000. What does that make a difference? Well, it does make a difference because you have to pay that increased premium for the rest of your life. And again, that doesn't even make an assumption on health. We all know that at any time, health can be fleeting. And again, that's equally important in our rating there. So again, even just showing here is the premium difference of 1 year is a fantastic way to motivate a client for a sale today versus later. So again, that's kind of our cost of waiting. In this report, again, I've just simplified it into a premium schedule and a presentation summary. And the whole reason I did that is I just really want to keep it on point. Again, if we look over the whole lifespan of, the graph, it may not be that huge on the graph, but $41,000, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a Civic for the daughter, or it could be the upgrade from the Tesla to the Tesla X. So again, it can mean a lot to your client. And again, that's a great way to kind of show the impact of age change. So I'm just going to pop back to the main dashboard here. Our last and final concept, again, we're running a little bit long, so hopefully everyone has time. I'm just going to go into my managed cases here, and what I'm going to do here is I'll reset my filters. I want to pull up that Andrew test, the Andy Conron here that we did, because I'm going to do a whole life to whole life comparison. So let's say in this kind of scenario here, we showed them exactly what their term policy did. We showed them a UL that they could convert to, but they really liked that Wealth Achiever. Or they liked the idea of PAR, not necessarily one product or the other. So again, now that they have PAR, we want to show them maybe they have more than one option. Or maybe you're in competition with someone and you want to show why your solution might be more appealing to your consumer than the agent in competition. I mean, it could even be something as simple as a State Achiever versus Wealth Achiever. There's so many different ways that you can use these insurance overlays to really communicate. When you add 2 different whole life products to our system's quite smart about it. So I've kind of blanked out these other products. We've already got this Canada Life Wealth Achiever added. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a Sun Life whole life product. And again, same process where if we don't have that information for the whole life, we do need to import it. I've just already designed my quote here. And with the Canada Life one, we did the copy and paste. I'll show you the other method of bringing in a CSV file. So again, I've got our same client here who's 38. I designed, I want to do it 2 million. And I'm doing, again, the same 15 pay with paid up additions. So again, I'm designing very apples to apples comparison here, both wealth products, but from different companies. Again, once I've got my quote designed exactly how I want it, I want to view that spreadsheet data. And in Sun Life's case, they don't export to Excel. They export directly to a CSV. And that's great for our system because we also accept a CSV. And so I'm just going to save this to my desktop as Andy Conron. And again, you can give this a name, or I mean, you might want to save these as you go along so you have a copy of them as well. And again, it's already in CSV format, so that's perfect. So all I have to do is save it there. I save mine to my desktop, so it's really easy to get. And again, if I just pull this aside here, we can actually see here's our Andy Conron file. All I have to do is actually say I'm going to import from CSV, and I can even drag this in here. So you can see I can drag and drop that. Or if I don't want to drag and drop, again, I can click and launch the file browser. And again, it's going to be found right on my desktop, right at the top there. So again, add the Andy Conron and open. So again, lots of different ways to get it in the system. Extremely easy to do. When you do that, it brings in all the data from the quote. So now I've got my 2 whole life products in there. I could customize the name as well to really give it a specific name. So again, instead of saying Sun Life Whole Life, I might want to say that it's a PAR accumulator. And again, just in my description, I'm going to say it's a 15, and it's the same plan premium, participating whole life. And I'm going to save that. So now I've got my 2 products in there. When I'm doing 2 whole life comparisons in the system, one thing I really like to draw attention to is using the cash and insurance overlays effectively. So just scrolling down to the report components, when we look at the sum of premiums and our metrics here, the one that we're generally looking at is that total cash value, and that's fine when you have one insurance product. When you have multiples like 2 or 3, sometimes you don't want an individual chart for each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away the chart for cash value and insurance benefit, but I am going to leave these metrics here for cash overlay, and insurance benefit overlay. And again, if you ever need a description of what certain metrics do, hover your mouse over that little question mark, and it will show you exactly what those metrics do. So again, I'm using my cash and insurance overlay in place of my other cash value charts. And I'll show you why when I generate the report that I do that, because I think it cleans it up a little bit. So again, I'm going to generate here with the 2 products and really show how we can compare 2 different companies' whole life products. Could be this, again, the same company's whole life products, different dividends. Might even be just a whole life product full out versus, say, term riders. Again, showing how you could reduce your premium but keep high coverage in the early years versus, you know, a little bit of base in the later years. So again, it's completely up to you how you use it. For any ideas on a current case, please get in touch. But again, great comparison here. We can see the Sun Life is a little bit more expensive than the Wealth Achiever here, but again, both are designed as 15 pays, and we're actually going to see that cost of the 2 different ones. Now, again, what a lot of people would say is, you know, well, okay, I'm paying a little bit more for the Sun Life one, so I'd expect a little bit more cash value. Well, that's where those cash overlays come in handy. So again, instead of having individual charts showing your premium as it relates to cash for each plan, when you use the cash overlay, it actually puts both products over top of each other. So again, when I look over this year by year, as a consumer, I can really easily see the differences between them. Again, blue here is Sun Life, and green is Canada Life. So again, great way to show the differences between 2 plans, maybe even 2 different funding strategies, or 2 different product types, even different dividends. And again, just like our other graphs, we can still throw in and look at them individually. So again, if I want to look at, you know, say Canada Life, that same regular chart we're used to looking at with premium to cash, I can. I can also look at things like, I can look at reduced examples as far as premium. I can look at guarantees as far as cash as well. Or I can look at reduced cash examples. There's total cash value reduced example versus reduced example. And again, these sort of things can really help differentiate you from your competition if you are in, you know, a competition for a quote and you know you have the better product or you have the better solution as it relates to your customer. Again, same thing with insurance benefit overlay. You're going to see the 2 products stacked over top of each other. And again, I find this just cleans up the report a little bit. Instead of having, you know, 2 different cash value charts and 2 different insurance benefit charts, that would add extra pages to the report, whereas an overlay can really effectively communicate the differences. And again, this metric works extremely well with overfunded ULs versus whole life. So a lot of places this comes in handy. Again, just keep in mind that it is there. It's one metric that we added after a lot of the original sets. So again, if you have been a user for a long time, remember, go into your account settings and add this as a default report component, because it won't show up when there's only one whole life plan. This is something that actually the system is smart about and says, okay, only when there's 2 products with cash value will we show this overlay metric. So again, it's a good one to have defaulted on there. And I'll show you that in a little second. Now again, the other nice thing about the system is that when you do multiple whole life products, it splits it into 3 categories. So it splits it into your premium deposit difference. Again, we've identified that with the Sun Life, we actually pay $50,000 more, $50,625 to be exact. And again, it breaks down the differences in cash as well. So again, because we pay more, we expect more cash, and we expect more insurance benefit. We want to see that that's the case. And again, if we take them out to life expectancy, we're actually up ahead by $911,000 in cash and $938,000 in insurance benefit. And again, your client will say, well, is that worth the $50,000 extra that I pay? It may be, it may not, but you know, in general cases, it's going to give them the information they need to make that decision. And again, they may want to look at things like the internal rate of return, again, comparison of the 2, or IRR of insurance benefit. So again, fantastic way to compare 2 different whole life products on one report. Again, I like the overlay metrics as a standalone sometimes because they really clean it up. If I were to go back here, for instance, and add those cash and insurance plans, just for my report components down below, we'd see that, you know, the report becomes a little bit more lengthy. And while we do see the difference between the products, even visually on, you know, kind of those individual charts, sometimes when you know, kind of companies that we're comparing are so close in premium and so close in values, we may not get the, you know, kind of the benefit of the doubt. Like we may not see the difference between these 2. Here's the Sun Life, here's the Canada Life. Even if we're looking at these side by side, They're pretty close, so it's going to be really a lot more difficult to determine, which really is the better one. And that's where I think those overlay metrics really do a difference of showing, two different cash value products. So again, use those overlays really when you're using two different whole life products. Again, if there's only one, they're not going to show up. So again, within your account settings, if you go to the very bottom, if you're kind of a longer term user, make sure you default those in there. Again, these are kind of smart metrics. Same with the needs analysis. If you're, if you haven't defaulted it in there, it only shows up when it's been done. It doesn't show up when it's not done. So again, kind of a smart metric, as I call it. So that's kind of brings us to the end of the webinar. Again, I don't know if we'll have time with how many people we have on for questions at the end, but certainly send any questions you do have to Charlie, C-H-A-R-L-I-E, at lifedesignanalysis.com. If you are kind of looking at the system from a first time, I know today's webinar was a little bit more advanced and covered a few advanced topics, but again, there's lots of videos on Sonodata that are more basic ones of setting up cases. Again, you can compare anything you'd like in the system. All accounts come with a 30-day free trial. And afterwards, again, it's very reasonable pricing. If you sell one more case, especially one more whole life a year, you're going to pay for your subscription forever. But again, if you need help with pricing or packaging, we have many different options to fit different broker styles. So again, thank you so much for participating. And again, any questions, feel free to get in touch with us, Charlie at lifedesignanalysis.com. Even click on our support tab here. And again, if you're looking at us and thinking about the system, again, no hesitation, sign up free. No credit card on sign up, and again, we can illustrate any different concept out there. But the idea is that you're communicating on a better level. You've got a professional report for your client. You're increasing that client satisfaction, and you're actually going to save time with that rate integration provided by LifeGuide. Again, all these prices go down by half price if you already have LifeGuide. We use the serial number as your discount. So again, thank you everyone for participating. We'll send out a follow-up, but any questions, please do get in touch. Thanks so much. Have a great afternoon.